Hey guys, today I'm here with Josh, and we're going to be talking about how to scale your Shopify store. Josh, in the past, had a business that he scaled to doing 8 figures in total revenue from his store, so he knows a thing or two. Josh, welcome, and how are you?
Chase, doing great, my man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, pumped for you to be here. Let's get started with kind of what you're working on, a quick background, and then I'd love to dive into your experience running an 8 figure store.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I'm the founder of Aligned Growth Management, where we specialize in growth marketing for e-commerce brands. It's paid media, email marketing, and our newest thing is ambassador management for brands.
Super interesting. I want to talk about scaling your Shopify store, but really quickly, can you elaborate on what you mean by ambassador stuff? Like, what does that look like, and who is that for?
Yeah, absolutely. So ideally, it's for a 7 or 8 figure brand that really needs some more juice on the creative side, right? And so, I think that there's really three big systems that you need in your ecom store. And one of those is creative and community. And a lot of brands, they really struggle with making consistent creative. They're having to do all these different lifestyle shoots. They're having to, you know, do product photos on a white background. But really what we're trying to do is put your product in the hands of creators so that you can leverage that creative across platforms while getting the benefit of organic traffic to your store. So we'll manage that whole process for you so that you just have to ship the product and we get you the creative for all your channels.
Amazing, super interesting, and I think it makes a lot of sense. So let's dive in. Oh, set the scene. What year did you start your e-commerce business? What did it do? And you scaled to over $10 million in lifetime sales on the business. Can we talk about channels that work, channels that didn't work, any you're learning? So that's a loaded question. Start wherever.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we started our brand. It's called Waiting Comforts in 2015. I actually launched it out of my parents' garage. And really we just started launching it for like custom weighted blankets on Facebook groups. So in our local area, we made this heavy blanket that would help people with anxiety and insomnia. And basically we would literally sell it on a Facebook group and we'd meet them at like Joann's Fabric in Franklin, Tennessee. So it was like very, cut and sew, a very manual process until we started streamlining that process. And so basically at the time in the market, it was all kids weighted blankets. It was all the weighted blanket was really designed for kids with, autism, ADHD, kids with like a sensory processing disorder that would help them calm down to feel better. And so basically we took that concept, but we made it for adults with anxiety and insomnia. And we standardized the weights so that, there's only 3 sizes of a blanket that you could get instead of, 100 different color options and 100 different custom weights. And so that really enabled us to go online and find our like ideal customer. And so that first year we did, probably 30K just selling on Facebook Marketplace. But that second year is when we really launched the store and I started figuring out Facebook ads. And so, 2015, 2016, that was kind of like the golden years of Facebook ads, right? Cost per clicks were like 50 cents and, our AOV was at $200. And so, we were getting like a 13x ROAS out the gate when we launched this product. And so we quickly scaled from 30K to 500,000 the next year. And we actually started finding out about the refugee community in Nashville. And so a lot of times when a refugee comes to the States, they don't have, the skill set or the English speaking skills to get a normal job. And so a lot of them might have, their master's degree in physics, but because they don't speak the language, they didn't have work. And so we partnered with a program called Sew for Hope, which basically taught refugee women how to sew so that they would get, a skill so they could provide for their families. But after they graduated that program, they didn't have anywhere to go. And so we started hiring women out of that program to start sewing the blankets. And in exchange, we gave them a sustainable source of income. And also we did paid English classes in our store. And so quickly we scaled that business from, my parents' garage to at its height was about 6.5 million a year in 2018.
Dude, that's crazy. So quick recap. So launched around 2015, mainly doing kind of direct sales to other people in the local community. About a year and a half in, you found online advertising in the form of, Facebook. How did you learn Facebook? Was it just trial and error? Did you take a course? Did you work for someone? How did you learn Facebook at that time?
Yeah, great question. So back in the day, I don't know if you're familiar with like digitalmarketer.com, Ryan Dice, all those guys. I found out about their, I think it's called their execution plans membership. And I bought that and I took literally every single course. And that's kind of how I just started. I kind of got us to, from 0 to like 10K a month just on my own doing courses. And so I was trying everything, Pinterest, Instagram organic, Facebook ads. And it was kind of like 10K a month, but not super profitable. And then I was in a Facebook group. I think it was like probably like the Facebook ad buyers group. And there was a guy who was doing a lot of drop shipping product, kind of the whole classic drag your product from Alibaba into your Shopify store, kind of like, gray hat marketing type of stuff. Anyways, I scheduled a call with him. And at the time we had like 10K in our bank account in this coaching program for how to run Facebook ads for your eCom store / drop shipping store cost $5,000. So it was like half of our bank account. And so I was like, screw it. If this doesn't work, I'll go back to selling blankets on Facebook pages. Paid the money. That next month we went from 10K to 50K in a month, just because of how he taught me how to run Facebook ads back in the day.
Wild, man. Obviously, Facebook is a different place today. With the clients that you work with, are you leveraging Facebook as a channel? Are you leveraging Instagram? Are you leveraging other top of funnel channels? Like that was 2016, 2018. In 2021 and beyond, like what are the top of funnel channels that you're most bullish on, or at least semi bullish on?
Yeah, for sure. So I still believe Facebook and Instagram is, the best place to put your money. And I think that the attribution is definitely weak inside the platform, but I'm still bullish on Facebook and Instagram kind of being your first go-to place. Like I wouldn't start necessarily on a second channel. I've heard a lot of people talk about TikTok. I've heard a lot of people talk about YouTube. I think that those are both kind of early platforms. I think YouTube takes a lot more budget and actually has even weaker attribution versus Facebook. But if I was to experiment more and more, it would be inside TikTok and YouTube. But that's kind of like a cliche saying when I haven't really, hacked it yet necessarily. But those are the two different platforms that I would probably start really tinkering around with if I was to, start testing some secondary budget behind Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. That's helpful. I know at the beginning, you mentioned that you're doing some email today. Did you leverage email for your brand back then? Was that a missed opportunity? Was it a big revenue driver? What did that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I think I say this sometimes, I've been on Klaviyo since, 2015, 2016, might have even started on MailChimp and then went over to Klaviyo. But yeah, email was a big driver for sure, especially on our promotion days. And so a lot of times, with the higher AOV product, the decision-making cycle, right, on like the higher average order value was a lot longer versus having like a $40, $50 product. And so a lot of times what we found was we'd sign up a ton of different people onto our email list through our pop-ups or different giveaways, that kind of thing. But it would take a really long time for them to purchase. And so what we would do is try to run some kind of promotion every 6 weeks. And so that would really kind of help, bring the price down from, $220, $240 on, our average product down kind of like below the 200 so that it was a little bit more attainable for most customers.
Nice. And what about SMS today? Are you leveraging SMS for anything that you're working on, for any clients that you're working with? You have any thoughts on SMS?
Yeah, we're leveraging SMS primarily for one large client. So we have a client kind of in the Pokemon and like collectible space. And so one of the things that we're trying to do there is kind of building up that community aspect that we were talking about earlier, and kind of leveraging SMS more so on the drops side. So instead of just kind of like a weekly cadence, it's more so when, like for example, in October, there's a big, I think 25th anniversary for Pokemon. And so just, gathering, email addresses, but then kind of treating SMS as like a higher intent channel to where it's kind of for the newest drop, like more exclusive instead of like sending, ongoing. But that's kind of the only thing I'm doing on SMS right now. A lot of it has been over in the ambassador side and, putting out fires on Facebook.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So we talked a little bit about top of funnel. We talked a little bit about email and SMS. Are there other channels that are top of mind for you that you kind of are interested in testing, or that you recommend brands that are in the scaling phase test? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, honestly, I'm pretty bullish all on ambassadors right now. I really think that a lot of people are kind of talking about how do I find, different organic strategies to drive, revenue. And so I think like right now there's really two big ways you can do that. You can kind of start with go into your high LTV customers. So the customers who have spent the most with you in your store. And I think one great channel that a lot of brands haven't been using has been like making like a VIP Facebook group. And so this is one thing that I actually did when I was with a brand called Groove Life. And we actually took everyone who spent, the AOV on that store is probably like $50, and we took anyone who spent over $300 with that brand, which was thousands of customers because Groove Life is a large brand. And so we put them into a Facebook group, and the amount of feedback that we got on our product and upcoming launches from that group was absolutely insane. And I think that's also a huge opportunity to launch like new products. And I think that Nick over on the structured side, I think he's been using this strategy for a while. But the lift that we've gotten in sales and just like feedback from that group has just been amazing. But yeah, the second one is just ambassador, like starting your own ambassador program. And this is actually something that you can really do yourself. It doesn't have to be outsourced, but it's definitely like a long-term play. But I think that there's a lot of benefit that people don't see outside of just getting the creative, right? And everyone is so gung-ho about, I need new creative for my accounts. And that's a great thing, obviously. But I think there's two other kind of key pieces that I think a lot of people miss. One is the organic traffic, right? So you're building up your organic traffic on your store. You're also getting the organic, following to your Instagram accounts or your social accounts, and you're kind of building community that way. But the third one is something that my friend he just exited a 7-figure e-commerce brand last week. And I was having a conversation with him. And one thing I don't think a lot of us realize is how valuable it is to own a community for your brand's equity. And so when I say brand's equity, it's kind of around, if you ever want to sell your ecom business, which most brand owners most likely do, I think that what a lot of buyers are looking at is how you're positioned in the marketplace and like what kind of community do you have associated with it? Do you have organic sales coming in? Do you have a different demographic that no other brand has kind of gotten their corner in the market? And so instead of just buying a brand for, your typical maybe 2x, 2.5, 3x EBITDA, just on kind of like a valuation, I think he got closer to like a 4.5x EBITDA. And a lot of that was because of how he had cornered his niche side of the market. And so I think that's something to keep in mind as you're kind of building out your community, is that, it's not just about organic traffic and it's not just about the creative, but it's about increasing the value of your company.
Yeah, dude, I love that, right? Like in e-commerce, there's not a lot of IP, right? So by building the community, that really helps you build that moat around what you're doing. If people are diehard, word of mouth and the loyalty towards your brand is huge. There's a couple of things I want to kind of talk about on the Facebook group side and kind of the Groove Life and the VIPs. Did you guys ever include that in any messaging for people that were close to becoming VIPs? Like, hey, Josh, spend a little bit more with us and get exclusive access to a Facebook group with thousands of other folks. Did you guys ever leverage that as like a highlight to kind of move people up in terms of AOV and LTV with you?
No, I don't think we did actually, but I love that idea. I think that's actually pretty genius. It's kind of like that, order bump type language. It's like, hey, you're almost there for free shipping, but I think that's genius.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't used that either, but I was just thinking about that as you mentioned that. The second thing was in terms of like the ambassador or the influencer program, are there any like tools that you're leveraging to help facilitate that process, or is it fairly manual?
Yeah. So on our end, we use a tool that we white label for our clients, but there's like a ton of different tools that you can use. Like, you can spend upwards of, $2 to $3 grand a month just for the software, which is kind of, for the larger brands that want to have, a larger program that can track sales, that you can kind of build up custom campaigns and that you're actually trying to scale. But one tool that I've been looking at is called Dovetail. And it's actually just something super easy, plugs into your Shopify store. And, it's a pretty simple process where you just invite creators to, the app essentially, and you can approve them or disapprove them from there. But yeah, I think a lot of the strain comes on the outreach. And so that's where I think a lot of brands, they don't really want to spend their amount of time, DMing, and emailing 300 influencers a week. And so that's kind of where we come in to help automate that process. But that's definitely one tool that I could recommend, and Google Sheets, the good old Google Sheets. I think that that's tried and true if you're kind of on a strained budget.
Nice. And then in terms of like brands of different sizes, so like, a 6 or 7 versus 8-figure brand, do you have a recommendation of like how many influencers or ambassadors they should be, working with on a monthly or quarterly basis? Like if they're a 6-figure brand versus an 8-figure brand, should they be working with 20 versus 40? Like, do you have any sense of like how many creators or ambassadors is like the right fit, where it's not too many, but it's also not too few? Is there a magic number?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it would really depend on the brand's goals. So, a lot of what we do is we like to strategize kind of around the brand's promotion calendar of like what's coming up. So, we obviously have Black Friday, Cyber Monday coming around the corner. I know that you know that. And so, if you're having some kind of promotion, I think that would be a great place to talk to your top creators to make creative for that day. Not only just post on their organic socials, but also to be able to leverage that creative inside Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. But our goal as an agency is to sign, over 200 influencers at the end of 3 months. And so that's kind of how we like to go about it, just to have a scaled program so that, it makes a lot more sense for all the organic traffic, but also to keep your ad account fresh.
Nice. Yeah, this has been fire. The last question I have is in terms of like, enabling and kind of encouraging and inviting these folks to actually get excited about what you're doing. Are there any kind of like recommendations or offers or strategies? Like, are these people getting free products? Is that what's getting them excited? Are they getting discounts? Are they becoming affiliates? Are you paying them? Like, do you have any just quick advice on that piece?
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of, one thing you can do with your ambassador program is split it into a tier. And so what I like to do is, 20K, I kind of use the 10K or 20K barrier as kind of like anyone under that, we'll do free product plus, a paid commission. So we can track the sale, do 10% of, confirmed sales using your ambassador program pixel or discount code. But past that, if you're working with a larger creator, then you're probably going to be getting into more, pay to post type things, or even like a monthly retainer type engagement. And so if you're a small brand, I would probably typically stay, in that 10 to 20K range, and you can probably get away with just the free product plus 10%, but it really depends on your product, right? So like, for example, there's a leather handbag company that we were just talking to, and they have like a really high, price item. So it's like $200 for a bag. And so giving away a bag is, really expensive just on the COG side. And so I think it's just really important to reach out to your current customers who already love your product and are already promoting it, and invite them into that program, and maybe give them, a larger discount, maybe not free, but something that's a little bit more achievable. That's like, oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. But obviously it really depends on the product.
Yeah, for sure. The last question I just thought of, and I know there's kind of like influencers and ambassadors and affiliates, and sometimes those words are used interchangeably. One kind of random question I have is, have you thought about, or are you thinking, or do you have any thoughts on, college athletes and college influencers? Is that going to be, a big opportunity? Do you think that makes sense? Does it not make sense? Do you have any ideas or thoughts on leveraging college athletes for influencers?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually just talking to, who is it? Chris Mead. Have you seen him just like signing everyone left and right for CrossNet?
Yeah, they're one of our clients. So that's kind of why I was thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think he's a great example. If you don't follow Chris, go give him a follow on Twitter. I'm surprised that he doesn't have more followers, because he is like always dropping value bombs of everything he does for CrossNet. But yeah, I think college athletes are a huge opportunity for sure. Like I said before, my favorite 2 words in marketing is, it depends. So there's no one size fits all, growth hack for your brand. But, if you're trying to reach a younger demographic, and, this is a perfect way to do that, is by putting your product in the hands of, Gen Z with these college athletes, because they're obviously wanting to make money off their profile. They have hundreds of thousands of followers, and their engagement is actually through the roof. And so I definitely think it's a great opportunity. And complete honesty, I haven't leveraged it yet, but I think you're right on the money. I think that Chris Mead is a great example of someone that's doing it well.
For sure. Josh, appreciate your time, your wisdom, your insight. Where can people find your agency, and where can people find your social profiles?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you want to find my agency, go to alignedgrowthmanagement.com. And if you want, you can sign up to our newsletter, just alignedgrowthmanagement.com/newsletter. And then give me a follow on Twitter at Josh J. Durham, and would love to connect with you there.
Sweet. The links will be below. Josh, thank you so much, man.
Appreciate you, Chase.
All right, cheers.